So you want to get a 2JZ, but you don't know where to start. All I'm going to tell you is you got to get your game up, son. You got to get that money up, man. Can't be broke here. Honestly, I couldn't find no other spot to talk about this. Wynwood was too full of people, but it is what it is. The question of the day. Many of you guys have been asking yourself this. Many of you guys may already know this. What is the difference between the GE and the GTE? I'm gonna give you a brief explanation for this. If you got money, you probably go for the GTE. Just to flex around your guys. Yeah, I bought a GTE, came off the crate from Japan. But if you want to build something that still is gonna work the same as the GTE, then you get yourself a GE. So the GE actually came in many platforms. Firstly, the first main one, the IS300s, as many of you guys may know already. I know I got some IS300 guys here in my channel, you know, hence why I got so many ISs. Second platform it came in the SC300, but the SC300 GE was a non-BBTI. Oh, don't follow me. The SC300 came with a non-BBTI GE, while the Sower, the same version in Japan, came with the 1JZ, which is a whole different thing between the 2Js and all that. Third platform, you got the GS300, the GS guys. You gotta love that car too. Came with the GE BBTI, like my car. But you got the Aristro version of the GS300, which came with the 2JZGTE. So pretty nice. But you expect to be expensive, but they actually around like what, 17, 18 grand for the Aristro. You also got the Mark IIs and the Chasers, which came with the GE. Usually the GEs come automatic. I think I've never seen a manual one. If you guys ever have, or even so, I gotta change my shady phone. Memory died. Not the memory died. I don't even look. See, I don't even know what I'm saying no more. Talking about some memory died. My memory ran out of space, so I had to delete some couple of stuff. So I previously was stating, before my phone actually fell off and, you know, died out of the memory.
At this point, man, cut the cameras, man. What am I saying?
DK, brother. I'm saying over here saying died in memory again. I don't know. My brain is cooked right now, man. What, like 4:37? Nearly my off day. I haven't rested. But as I was stating, the Chasers actually, I've never, matter of fact, actually seen a manual GE. If you actually perhaps may have one, let me know. Hit me up. I may be interested in buying it. But not to do a GE, a 2JGE. I actually, matter of fact, I'm in love with the Chasers, the JZX100 specifically, due to the fact of the body and the 1J in that car just perfect. But I know there's other two platforms there that have the GEs, but I can't remember for right now exactly the names of the cars. They're like low. That's actually, matter of fact, there's an all-wheel drive GE in Japan. I think it's Progresso. I think it's Progresso is the name of it. It's like a really tiny car, but it comes with a GE in it too. So let's talk about the specifically engine components. So the GE actually comes with thinner rods, like super thin rods. If you want to put them next to each other with non-BBTI, just to put it, make it short. There's a difference between the two of them, man. That's the guy, that's basically you and the guy that she told you not to worry about. There's a lot of memes on the internet about that. Those rods, actually, matter of fact, I wouldn't recommend going higher than what, like 10 psi or 15 psi on them. If you're boosting actually your whatever platform you're using, those rods tend to bend under very aggressive abuse, and you will learn. Yeah, you would just learn, honestly. You would just learn from whatever you do to it. I mean, I've heard people saying that their cars lasted a while, boosted, and doing nothing to it, but eventually at some point it's just like a ticking bomb. It's just gonna... But if you're really a piece of guy, you're not, or a girl, you don't know, you drive pretty friendly, you don't abuse your car every day from your mom's house, red lighting all the way down the street, then you for sure got you a good car. The difference in the pistons in the GE and the GTE, I would say it will be the compression, which I think the GE compression is like 10.51, I think. It's around, there's a higher compression than what the GTEs run. They run like a low 8. But they run the GEs run a bigger piston due to the fact the combustion chamber and all that, for its power and all the gasoline efficiency. But I think, the only thing you gotta do to the GE is basically just worry about the rods. Rods, and I think you'll be good. Or just go with a non-BBTI set with the piston and rods. Same thing fits. You don't have to worry about 9. Next component, the head. So this is where it differentiates a lot in a GE from a GTE. The manifolds off the GTE don't fit on the GE. Let me tell you this right now. For example, you want to run a turbo manifold off a GTE to a GE, you can't. There are different bolt patterns and head studs that on the side of the exhaust, due to the fact that the ones on the GE are smaller ports than the ones on the GTE. The GTE, if you pay attention closely to the ports, they're actually way bigger than the GE. The GEs are like small holes like this, because they're not boosted or nothing. But the GE actually have better airflow than what the GTEs do. This is the same thing. I think some people actually run the GTE heads on the GE, but there's no point to it. Everybody will want better airflow through your head, through your block. But you could also do that too. If you want to run the GTE style things, or the GTE thing, the spark plug covers and the coil covers itself. Valve covers, if you want to run the valve covers, you can. If you do the GTE head, but there's no point because you can run let me give you the secret sauce. You can run the GTE valve covers on the GE. You would just be missing one bolt on one side due to the fact that the valve covers hole is gonna be like, this is your GE thread hole and this is your valve covers off the GTE. It's gonna be sitting like this far, I think. Some people usually just cut them off and weld them on to the spot and just put them on. But if you're missing one, it really is no big deal. It's not gonna leak. This is what I'm doing right now. And so the manifolds, they actually, matter of fact, they saw them in the GTE style things. You got Rat Dan, he actually made adapters if you want to run the GTE OEM throttle manifold. You can run that style. But in the IS300s applications, I wouldn't recommend because they wouldn't fit right unless you run no hood. But at some point you're gonna have to run a hood. But in other cars you could run the the Rat Dan adapters and it'll be fine. Some people actually, they get the lower runners off of the GE and the GTE. They cut them and weld them together to make a crazy ass combination budget adapters to fit the throttle and the intake manifold together. But you have to do some clearances in the hood. Same thing, clearances in the hood and all that. So that's that for the head of the GE and the GTE. So the next component I'll say is the block itself. Is the block is the same, but in the GTE, for the fact it runs oil squirters. I know most of you guys know that. It runs oil squirters inside. But in the GE, they don't have them. Which, I mean, in some sense, people usually, when they get the GTEs, either way, they just block them off. There's no point in using them. But, a GE, with the cost of a GE is actually, nowadays, well, before actually, you could buy a GE for like $500 or $400. Nowadays, I've seen them go for at least $1,000 up. The cheap lowest I've seen them probably like $700 or $800 for them. The prices keep going higher with people actually putting on the market, and then TikTok, doing his stuff. So my bad for the misinformation. I actually had it the opposite way. These are actually bigger than the GTE, the exhaust ports. The GTE ones, for example, they're smaller than this. So if you have a GT head, you can see the difference. Meanwhile, on this side, it's smaller on the GE side, and the GT is way bigger, hence turbos, and the intake manifold. So, in the sense of the GTE, once you get, once you buy the motor itself, actually, you don't want to actually worry about nothing else. It's just basically something you just swap in and perf into any chassis you want, like the IS or S14 or whatever you want. You just easy boostable thing. Like, I think from factory they should be pushing like 335 to the wheels or 310, depending too how much wear the engine has. Usually I don't think you would buy a engine that's already all weared out. You probably would buy something off of the imports, which is like most of them I think have like 120,000 miles on them. But it's easy, a little bit off of factory, you could tune them up and probably make like 500 easily or 600. Like as I was stating before my phone actually cut off, you can actually change, no, you don't even need to change nothing internally in the engine. You just single turbo, fuel injectors, fuel rail and stuff like that, and you make easy power. But once it comes with the forged internals and all that, you make 1,000 without an aluminum, all of that, without doing nothing to the block, basically, is what I'm trying to say. The cost of this though is what really hurts a lot of people, and it's not worth doing. So it's worth building a GE over this GTE. The GTEs nowadays, they value from $7,000 to like $9,000 if you're lucky to find one that cheap. I've seen them mostly go for 10 bands, almost around what the RB26 cost, even though RBs are like 15 now. But different opinions, everybody got a different mindset. If you want to ball out, go buy a GTE, go flex on your friends. If you want to be in budget and have something that's the same as a GTE, sounds the same, basically it's the same thing, you go for a GE. Either VVTi or non-VVTi, your preference. But if you guys want to see more deep of this, go follow my turbo build review. It's gonna take me a couple of months from now, but for now, I got the pistons, which is gonna drop part 2 soon. And see ya boys next time. Like, comment, and subscribe.